Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different, really focusing in on you and your health journey.
That's right. We're going to explore how the food you eat impacts, well, pretty much everything, your energy, your health, your future.
Yeah, and it can be quite profound, sometimes in ways you might not expect. We've been looking at some really compelling material.
Especially insights from that documentary, You Are What You Eat, the twin experiment,
Yeah.
and related research, too.
That core idea in the documentary, studying identical twins on different diets, it's just such a fascinating setup, isn't it?
It really is. It cuts through a lot of the confusion because you've got that genetic control.
Exactly. So, our mission, really, for you listening, is to pull out the key takeaways, the actionable stuff, the surprising facts about food science.
We want to break down how it affects your body, your mind, your longevity, but, in a way that's easy to grasp, not overwhelming.
We'll be covering quite a bit, things like food as medicine, that whole concept.
Yeah. And gut health,
Yeah.
which is just massive. Plus, of course, unpacking what that twin experiment actually found comparing the diets.
We'll also touch on culture, using Kenya as an example, and how that shapes eating habits.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when might be the best time in your life to really start paying attention?
Right, plus practical tips, how to actually make changes. And sleep. We can't forget sleep.
Definitely not. It's all about understanding the power you have through conscious food choices. So, should we dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, food as medicine. This idea, it feels intuitive, right? But now science is really backing it up.
Increasingly so, yes. The documentary really hammered home how whole food, plant-based diets can significantly lower your risk for chronic diseases.
We're talking the big ones, heart disease, diabetes, even some cancers.
Exactly. And the evidence is pretty robust. They mentioned the China study, Dr. T. Colin Campbell's work. That was huge.
Huge scale, right, looking at thousands of people.
Yeah, in rural China. And they found much lower rates of chronic illness, people living longer, healthier lives, primarily on plant-based diets. It wasn't just about prevention. It suggested real therapeutic potential.
Right. And when you break it down, what is it in the plant foods?
Well, they're just loaded with antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, all sorts of beneficial compounds.
Stuff that helps the body.
Absolutely. They help bolster your natural defenses, repair cell damage, fight inflammation. Basically, they reduce the burden on your organs. It adds healthy years, not just years.
Which kind of leads perfectly into the next topic, gut health.
Ah, yes. Maybe not the sexiest topic, but arguably one of the most important for your overall health.
It's more than just digestion then.
Oh, way more. Your gut, and specifically the microbiome, that community of trillions of microbes living there, impacts your immune system massively. And your mental health, too.
Okay, so how does my lunch choice actually influence this internal ecosystem?
It really comes down to fiber. Plant foods, fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes are packed with fiber.
And that's good for the gut bugs.
It's basically their preferred food source. It helps the beneficial bacteria thrive, promoting diversity, which is key for a healthy gut.
Okay, so what happens if we're eating, say, a typical Western diet? Less fiber, more other stuff.
Well, that's where things can go wrong. Lots of processed foods, refined sugars, unhealthy fats. They tend to feed the less beneficial bacteria,
Yeah.
and that disrupts the balance. It can cause immediate things like bloating, discomfort, but also longer-term issues like a weaker immune response.
It's kind of amazing that microscopic stuff can have such big effects.
It truly is. Research keeps finding more links between poor gut health and things like chronic inflammation throughout the body, even conditions like anxiety and depression.
So feeding your gut right has really broad benefits then.
Absolutely. It's a foundational piece of health.
Now let's get back to that twin study. That was the real hook for me. Using identical twins. That's brilliant.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because you take genetics largely out of the equation, right? So you can really see the diet's impact much more clearly.
So what did they find? The twin on the plant-based diet.
Showed really positive changes. Lower cholesterol, significantly less systemic inflammation, that's body-wide inflammation, and just better markers for cardiovascular health overall.
And why was that? What in the plants was doing that?
Primarily the anti-inflammatory compounds. Plants are rich in antioxidants and these things called phytochemicals.
Or phytochemicals.
Yeah, natural compounds in plants that protect them, but they also benefit us. They help fight off cellular damage and calm inflammation.
Okay, and the other twin? The one eating the omnivorous diet.
Well, they maintain muscle mass effectively, which is important for some, but their markers for inflammation were a bit higher. And if you look at the bigger picture of research, That pattern often correlates with a higher long-term risk for those chronic diseases we keep mentioning.
So even though muscle mass was maintained, the sort of internal health picture looked a bit riskier long term.
That's a fair summary, yeah.
Hmm.
The experiment was just such a clear, visual way to show how diet really shapes your health trajectory. It suggests you can not only prevent damage, but maybe even reverse some of it with a whole food, plant-based focus.
That makes you think about culture, doesn't it? How traditions shape what we eat. We looked into the Kenyan context specifically.
Yeah, that's fascinating. In Kenya, food is so deeply woven into the social fabric. Shared meals, specific dishes like ugali na sukuma or nyama choma, they're central to connection, family, tradition.
But things are changing there too, aren't they? Urbanization, more global influences.
Definitely. You see more fast food, more processed options becoming readily available, especially in cities.
And that's having health consequences.
Unfortunately, yes. There's been a noticeable rise in lifestyle diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart issues, which weren't as common when traditional diets, typically rich in whole foods, were the norm.
There's that Kenyan saying, Kula vizuri ushibe, eat well and get full. But maybe the meaning of eating well needs a rethink.
That's a great point. Traditionally, eating well meant nutrient-dense whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
Think sukuma wiki, collard greens,
Mm.
ndengu, green grams, njugu, groundnuts, lots of plants, natural proteins.
Right.
But now, getting full might come from less nutritious processed options.
Yeah.
So there's a risk of losing those healthy traditions.
So for people in Kenya today, what should Kula vizuri ideally mean?
It's about consciously redefining it,
Hmm.
prioritizing those nutrient-rich whole foods again, maybe reconnecting with some of those traditional staples, eating mindfully, not just aiming for fullness from anything.
It sounds like blending traditional wisdom with modern understanding.
Exactly, to tackle these modern health challenges while holding on to valuable cultural heritage. It's about community health too, not just individual.
Which leads to another interesting question. Is there an ideal age to start getting really intentional about eating? The research suggests maybe earlier than we think.
Yeah, the mid-20s to early 30s seems to be a really critical window.
Why then specifically?
Well, a couple of things. Metabolism might start to slow down a bit around then, and also the effects of maybe less than ideal choices from your younger years can start to accumulate. The groundwork for those lifestyle diseases often gets laid during this time.
So the body kind of starts keeping score more strictly.
That's a good way to put it. Think about, say, young professionals,
Mm-hmm.
maybe grabbing quick, easy food like cheapo mutu street fries and sodas often. Understandable, but those small choices add up over time.
But it's not all doom and gloom. Small changes during this period can make a big difference, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Simple swaps can be really powerful, like choosing grilled chicken instead of fried, making sure you actually get vegetables onto your plate at most meals,
Right.
switching sugary drinks for water or maybe natural juice, choosing baked snacks over deep-fried ones. These things help stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, manage weight.
So it's about consistency with small, better choices rather than some huge, drastic overhaul, maybe.
Exactly. Being proactive in your 20s and 30s is like investing in your future health. It sets the stage for more energy, better well-being down the road.
Okay, so if someone's listening and feeling motivated, what are some practical first steps? How do you start transitioning without feeling overwhelmed?
Good question. Keep it simple to start. Aim for, say, half your plate being vegetables at lunch and dinner.
Okay.
Try to consciously cut back on processed foods, especially things with lots of added sugar. Drink more water, aim for maybe 2-3 liters a day. Include more plant-based proteins, beans, lentils, even tofu are great options. Limit deep-fried foods. Choose whole grains like brown rice or whole wheat bread instead of white versions.
That sounds doable. What about cost? Healthy eating can seem expensive.
It can feel that way, but there are definitely ways to do it on a budget. Buying local produce when it's in season is usually cheaper.
Makes sense.
Cooking at home more often saves a lot compared to eating out or takeaways. Buying staples like beans, lentils, rice in bulk is very cost-effective. And honestly, eating less meat often saves money too.
And there are some affordable superfoods too, not just exotic, expensive stuff.
Totally. Avocados, great healthy fats, often quite affordable depending on where you are. Sweet potatoes, fantastic fiber source, very versatile.
Love sweet potato.
Leafy greens like spinach or kale or sukuma wiki in Kenya, packed with nutrients and usually inexpensive. And nuts and seeds, things like groundnuts, peanuts, or sunflower seeds offer protein and good fats without breaking the bank.
Okay, we've talked a lot about food. But there's another piece to this health puzzle that often gets pushed aside: sleep.
Oh, absolutely critical
Yeah.
and often underrated. Sleep isn't just about feeling rested. It affects appetite, metabolism, how your body recovers and repairs itself. Everything.
How does sleep, or lack of it, connect directly to our eating
It's
habits?
largely hormonal.
Yeah.
When you're sleep deprived, your body produces more ghrelin, the hunger hormone.
Ah, so you feel hungrier.
Exactly.
Huh.
And less leptin, which is the hormone that tells you you're full, so you're driven to eat more and often crave high-calorie, sugary, or fatty foods.
So pulling an all-nighter can actually sabotage your healthy eating plans the next day.
Definitely. Poor sleep also messes with your metabolism, makes it harder for your body to manage blood sugar effectively. It can become a vicious cycle. Bad sleep, poor food choices, worse sleep.
So prioritizing sleep is really important. What are some practical ways to improve sleep hygiene?
Consistency is key. Try to stick to a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends, if possible.
But okay.
Have a wind-down routine, maybe an hour before bed. Limit screens, read a book, take a warm bath. Something relaxing. Make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
Sounds like it's a real investment in your health, not just a luxury.
It absolutely is. Chronic lack of sleep is linked to higher risks of heart disease, diabetes, mental health issues. It's foundational. Getting enough good quality sleep supports everything else, including your efforts to eat well.
Wow. This whole discussion really drives home that idea of being conscious, intentional about food. It's not just fuel, is it?
Not at all. The core message, really, regardless of the specific diet you follow, is mindfulness. Understanding that what you eat matters profoundly. Taking that responsibility.
It's like that phrase, every meal is a chance to either nourish your body or, well, not.
Exactly. Food can be the slowest form of poison, accumulating damage over years, or it can be the best medicine we have, genuinely healing and protective. The choice, ultimately, is ours, meal by meal.
And the evidence we've talked about makes it pretty clear those choices really do shape our present and our future health. They open the door to more vitality, more energy, longer life.
Definitely. Every healthy choice is an investment in that future self.
So the main takeaway for everyone listening: be mindful, get informed, make conscious decisions about what you eat. You're nourishing yourself for the future.
So thinking about everything we've explored today, perhaps the question for you, listening, is, what's one small intentional change you feel inspired to make in your own approach to food, starting now?
That's a great question to reflect on. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.